There's 3 of us and Levi.
So we're all spread out pretty good in the room. So
Everyone introduce yourselves.
Herman.
Nicole.
So yeah, the reason that we're all here is because we're going to the Ingrid Klemke clinic. Klemke.
I think we all pronounce
Ingrid.
it differently. We'll find
How do
out.
you pronounce it?
Klemke.
Klemke. So this weekend in Temecula is the Ingrid Klemke Clinic. I'm going to be taking Harvey down, and we have a table with a bunch of our clients, so it should be a good time. I think we're doing Cavalettis.
There is Cavalettis during the clinic. Hopefully you'll get to do them.
Yes.
That's her specialty.
And it should be a good time. I hope that we'll learn a lot because obviously she's a very well-known trainer and horsewoman, and it's always fun to just get to see someone's training and they say things differently. And I think it will be awesome for Harvey. So anyways, a couple of things tonight. We have some questions to answer. We have some exciting updates. First off, I wanted to ask everyone here, what is the best horse advice that you've ever received? We asked this in the Facebook club. We have a lot of good answers. So, best horse advice.
If you let it take all the time it takes less time.
That's a good one. What about you, Nicole?
It was advice my mother gave me, who is not that horsey, but it was don't sweat the small stuff because
it's all small stuff.
It's all small stuff. And I used to be really neurotic when I was younger about like little cuts and like, oh, the tack wasn't exactly clean or like I wasn't perfect. And she was like, in the grand scheme of things, these animals are 1,200 pounds. They'll live through at most anything as much as they are fragile creatures. But so that's always really just stuck with me. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. I guess mine would be tomorrow is another day. And that goes along with Nicole's. And her mom always helps me with that because I'll come home and I'll be like all upset about like, oh, I didn't have a good ride. And I get all worried and like Nicole, neurotic. And it's like, well, tomorrow's another day. So let's see. There's some good, someone says, let go and release. That's definitely good advice.
Let go or get drugged.
Don't just buy a horse that's pretty.
That's brilliant.
Always end on a good note. What is it that you say about like, don't buy a horse for your trainer or something like that?
Right. You don't need to buy me a job. You need to buy a horse. And so if you can't ride that horse that day, that's not the horse for you. If you're buying the horse for the future, but you're not riding it that day, don't buy that horse.
Yeah. Here's some other funny advice. Always check your girth before getting on your horse.
I learned that one the hard way.
No matter who puts it on. I think that's important. Like even if you have a groom or someone, you have to check
But
your
more
girth.
importantly, even if you put it on, you got to check it later.
Here's a good one. Horses learn from the release of pressure, not from the pressure.
Absolutely. That is gospel truth.
The only 2 emotions that belong with you when you are in the saddle are gratitude and humor.
Oh, humor's a good one. Really good one.
Here's another one.
That seems easy.
Oh, this one from Linda goes along with yours. Act like you have all day and it will take 5 minutes. Act like you have 5 minutes and it will take all day.
Lauren Kiefer used to say something. She's an inventor. She used to say, you have to go slow to go fast.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really like quick way of saying it. It's you got to take your time. And then at the end of the day, it'll go really fast.
I can't remember the book. It says you have to hurry slowly.
Yeah.
But it's all life advice. And I think I did a lecture earlier this week for our groundwork course. I did a lot of research for it, and horses, they read your body language. They read your facial expressions. They sense your emotions. And so it's always important to consider that and to bring your best self to your ride for your horse because they definitely pick up on that. Good advice. In other news,
to do.
Yes. So we put Nicole to work today.
Really?
Yes. Tell us what you did today.
I did a lot of things today. I was in the office in the morning, and then I got to spend the afternoon with Amelia and Kane and the team at the barn, where we did a lot of photo shoots. I was the person making sure that there was no dirt on the horse and that
The stirrups were up.
the stirrups were up and things like that. And then I got to be model and guinea pig for a few of the like teaching shots and things like that, which was good fun. And we did some Piaffe work with Mercurio, which was great. I'm not as good with my timing on the Piaffe stuff, so it was great to have Amelia there helping me because that's probably the area I feel the most green with the groundwork, and Mercurio's super at it.
He's really good with the Piaffe in hand.
He grew up with it, did he not?
Yeah, in Spain they taught him the Piaffe
Yeah.
in hand. So, but anyways, it's always fun to have Nicole here, and we have a lot of exciting things coming up in the year ahead. We've been planning our Strides calendar, which I'm really excited about the topics, and we have some exciting guest speakers that will be coming in and talking about different topics that they're experts in. And I'm really excited for that because I certainly don't know everything, and I'm always learning. And that's a big part of riding, is that you're always learning and trying to get better for your horse. So we have a lot of really exciting topics coming up in the year ahead. And Nicole is also, she's a judge. And so we filmed, I thought it was fun. We filmed this week. I rode through a training level test and she judged it. And it's always great to hear the judge's perspective. Like Herman and I, well, you've done the judge's course too.
Yes.
But there's like,
But it's changed. That was a really long time ago.
and there's definitely a balance of training and show riding. Like they're different things.
Very different. Very different.
Right. You can't ride training the day like you do your show.
Right. But you also can't test ride every day. If all you
No.
do is have your horse pull the highest point, nose in front of the vertical, and ride the test pattern over and over again, that's not going to work either.
Right. You have to do exercises to make the horse be able to do the test patterns.
But then the test is a really good result.
Test of your
Right. That's
training.
what it is.
If
That's
your
what it's a
training is-
test. Did
Yeah.
you get this done?
Yeah.
Did your work at home? And now here's the test.
It was good. It was interesting to. I don't often get to see professionals ride the training level tests, or if we do as a judge, it's usually because they're on a young horse or a green horse.
And there
So
could be some excitement.
and there could be some excitement. There wasn't any excitement when, not big excitement when Amelia was doing hers, but it's good fun. I love my judging and being able to share it with people.
Yeah. And I also think that that's something like in Strides that we're going to be really working on, is helping you through competition season and helping you understand the judge's perspective as well. Because, you know, judges, Nicole has gone through a lot of training. What have you gone through to get certified as a judge?
Too much? No, there's a lot. You have to do a lot of shadow judging. It's a little bit different depending on where you live.
Yeah.
But a lot of shadow judging, a lot of like educational clinics. There's a testing process. You have to actually compete yourself a certain numbers of times at certain levels, and you have to get it all done within a certain like time period of a certain number of years. And then you have to keep maintaining and keep updating. And I choose to do a lot of the extra stuff because I'm at the like beginning stage of my career. So I go to all of the different sessions and I try and shadow judge with like anyone I can sit with, which is great. This year has been a really educational year. I got to sit with some of the FEI judges that came to me locally. So it's scary sometimes to sit with them, but it's also super educational.
Yeah. But it's always, I think that we don't realize as riders that becoming a judge is a big deal, and you go through a lot of education, but they also know a lot about like how movement should look and the frame. And, you know, it's not like they just sit there and arbitrarily come up with scores. They have, you know, things that they're looking for and formulas.
Criteria, modifiers.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And then we
You
have
could probably go on a little more detail
Oh,
about
yeah.
that, but there's, you know, the definition of the movement and the essence of the movement. And that's what they're looking for.
And then we have to keep up to date with all the rules. Generally speaking, the stewards are really good to help us, but in the moment, we need to know the rules if someone's coming down center line and they've got something illegal on and things like
Right,
that.
because you own the space inside the
Mhm.
arena, and then everything outside the arena, that's for the technical delegate.
Theoretically, yes,
Yeah.
but it's a real team effort. I think everyone should have the opportunity to scribe if they
Yes,
don't judge,
yeah.
they should, because being behind the scenes to see how much goes on, and like no judge ever wants to give a bad mark, no judge wants to be harsh on you, and we really want to see you succeed. And I think that's what people sometimes forget, or they, like, oh, that judge is so mean or this and that. And
But there's a standard.
there is a standard, but we never want to be mean.
Right, no, it
But-
isn't about being mean.
No.
There's a standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Cesar Torres gave me some great advice. He said, you have to judge what you see, because if someone comes in and is a 60% decent satisfactory rider, they come in and they're doing good, and then someone comes in and they're not, and you still give them 60s, like sixes, how is that person who was the 60% rider going to feel when they look at the other rider and they go, well, why am I even bothering when I'm getting the same score as someone who's not sufficient at this level? And I think that really, he's like, you have to be honest with the riders and fair. And then that's how you can be a good judge and a fair judge. And I think, you said it takes a lot of education. Christy Wysocki told me it would take me 20 years from the start of my career to get to FEI. I think it's going to take closer to 35. Well,
That's crazy.
It's insane the amount of education we have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it in some ways, I think it's a little bit of a thankless job. So we should always be kind to the judges, because it's really hard to sit there all day
To be that critical.
yeah, and try to be fair and subjective. And it's definitely harder than I think we think. So, but it's also super important to understand what the judge is looking for, because like when we did our training level test and I listened back to Nicole's comments, like there were just some simple things that I could do to improve the score, like riding accurately, showing a little more bend, thinking about the transitions. And so that's what we're really going to try to do this summer as part of our curriculum, is to give you more knowledge about like what the judges are looking for and support you more in that way. We were talking about that's something that we didn't do enough of this past year. So looking forward to the year ahead, that's what we're going to be working towards. And we're also doing a goal setting webinar. Well, I should say I'm doing a goal setting webinar on New Year's Day to get you geared up for the new year. And I feel like winter and December is kind of a time to reflect. So I encourage you to take some time and reflect on what you've achieved this year, any improvements you've made, and then start planning for the year ahead, because I always like to set my goals in the new year.
Is the competition section of Strides the thing you're most excited about for the new year? Or are there other topics?
I'm excited about everything in Strides, because I feel like in Strides I learn, and you probably feel this way too. Like we learn something new every month, because I always do a lot of research. Like
Right, you go so in depth into something.
Yeah, we really enjoy, I think all three of us, we like reading books and watching the competitions. And so as much as we learn, then we're always passing that on to the students. And that's what makes it really fun. So, and just, I think as riders, we're always learning and we're always getting better, and we're always excited about trying something new, or a new exercise, or even just a new mindset with our horses. I think it's fun.
Yeah, Mashur always says it's what you learn after you know everything that's important.
Yes.
Who says that?
Mashur.
Oh.
Okay, what else do I have on my okay, here's a good question. How do you slow the trot rhythm? Someone asked.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
Go.
You slow your posting. You slow your body down. And that usually just the change of your balance will change their speed and balance. Would you agree, disagree?
Yeah, I was thinking about when I do it at the sitting trot, and right, if I'm posting, just change the speed at which I get out of the saddle.
Mm.
And then when I'm sitting, it's the same thing. I regulate my breathing so that my hips go at a different tempo. Yeah, and the reins support that, but it starts with my seat. Or in the posting where you change how fast you come out of the tack.
If that doesn't work, then usually I turn my
Circle.
horse, like make a small circle. So that's how I would slow the tempo down. Okay, next question from Allison. How important is arena footing? I feel like our deep, loose footing I ride in is hindering our progress. Could this be the case?
It could be. But
Deep, loose footing is not
yeah,
great.
deep footing is not
Not good.
not ideal.
No.
No.
But that being said, I think there's something to say, like, just because you have something that isn't perfect doesn't mean you can't
Right.
ride and enjoy your horse. But the more requirements you make of your horse to like increase their balance and their cadence as you move up the levels,
Yeah.
the more important footing gets.
Very good point.
When I was in Argentina and they had the polo field and they were playing on the beach. And somebody asked that very question. And he said, well, it's deep, so you can't work them as hard because they have to work so much harder to get out of the deep sand. He goes, but they're fine in it.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess that's the other thing is people ride like their horses on the beach in the waves to like strengthen their legs to be like just at the walk. Like
Right.
I think there's lots of benefits to using different types of footing.
Yeah. But definitely be mindful. And the standard for good footing is you want to have a good solid base. Like here we make bases out of DG. I don't know what.
And then compact it down to about 99%. So it would be almost like concrete.
Yeah.
And
And
you
then
have
on top of
2 to
that,
4 inches.
2 to 4 inches of sand or different material.
Right.
I mean, sand is
At
really
one
pretty
time,
good.
At
footing.
one time, sand was the cat's meow. I mean, it didn't get better than sand because that's what there was. And now they have all these mixes and everything, but still
Yeah. And it's
Sand's
important
okay.
that it's
consistent.
uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same. That it's not like super deep and then really hard and then super deep and then
Right,
hard.
because if it's consistently deep, the horse can make adjustments.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good question. What's the main reason that Geronimo developed a rearing problem, and what exercise did you use to correct it? Was it just a fundamental misunderstanding about the forward aid? That's a good question.
Was he doing it already when you got him?
No. When I tried Geronimo in Europe, he wasn't like the best in the connection. But it was when I was trying to do a turn on the forehand with him, that's when he started rearing. And it was basically that he didn't understand to move sideways. Like turn on the forehand is a suppleness exercise to teach your horse to connect from the inside leg to the outside rein. And because he didn't understand it and he wasn't enough in front of my leg, then when
He rebels against it, and up is an option.
right. And then when he reared, the pressure came off. So I trained him to do that because he was like, oh, pressure on, I rear, pressure comes off. So that's how hard training horses is that you can accidentally teach them the wrong thing very easily, like
And they don't
really
forget.
fast. Yeah.
And they don't forget.
Yeah.
And,
One time.
And then to fix that, it wasn't like it was one, exercise and then it's
Well,
all
no,
good.
because he already learned it.
Yeah, but it was how long was it of going back to the basics and the fundamentals, do you think?
It took to get the rearing completely out of him, probably took 6 months, 8 months. And he was young at the time. He was 4 or 5. But it took going back to groundwork. I mean, that's what we went back to, the rope halter and teaching him to bend and yield his hindquarters. And he was so locked in his body. That's usually why horses rear or buck.
Because of that tightness.
Yeah.
And then you put the pressure on and they don't know what can sew up.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have another direction
Right.
to go, right?
Because they can't go forward. They're so tight.
Okay, here's a good question from Brenda. What's the difference in the aids when going from halt to walk or halt to trot?
Intensity.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say that. I changed my seat. The seat, like yes, you use your legs, but that first moment could either be in the walk or be in the trot or in the canter motion.
Right.
It is
How
also,
your hips move. It's leg, then
It's
seat.
your
but-
Leg,
seat,
yeah.
right? And then, but it's what you do with, it's how intent, I mean, if you go with that seat, they'll go up to the trot. If you just moderate
Yes.
your seat, that's the part that the intensity changes, is where your seat goes. Right? If you do walk seat, the horse walks on.
Yes.
If you do trot seat, the horse trots on. But the leg said go, and the seat's like, go this way. I don't know, how do you do it?
That's what's hard about riding is some of it's like a feel thing, you know. But I would agree that amount of intensity in your seat, the amount of intensity from your leg is what starts it. Like if I'm at the halt and I'm gonna walk, I put like a soft calf. If I want to go like right from halt to trot, it depends on the horse. So with Harvey, because Harvey's my Grand Prix horse, and he's like very tuned. So what I do with him is I think about like kind of, I almost think piaffe and then let it out to trot. But he's like a very advanced horse. So it's different like on a horse that doesn't know the piaffe. But yeah, it's leg and then your seat has to follow it. Okay, next
So that was great. We
question.
gave them 3 answers to the same question. Perfect.
No, but I think it's good to have discussion about things because everyone's answer is right.
Yeah. I
It's,
agree with that. It's just, and I think it goes back to how you sit on your horse and how you train your horse a little bit too, right? But the horse will become sensitive to what you are asking. And
yeah.
But we can all agree that you don't let go of the reins to go forward. You keep a contact.
And you don't lean forward either.
Right.
rider position.
Yes, letting
Yes.
go of the reins to go forward is not an aid.
Yeah.
Just, I only say it because we see it a lot.
Okay. Next question. This is a good one. How do you get a horse to concentrate on the rider and the tasks in the arena rather than be distracted by things going on outside the arena?
I use my reins and make them look inside the arena. When they're looking outside,
What do you do with your reins?
well, we never say pull, but I'll pull and make their head go to the inside of the arena.
Okay. What do you do, Nicole?
I think it would depend on how bad it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like
you're
if I have very little like control of speed, then I get off and I do groundwork. If I have control of speed and like the steering isn't very good, I'll do like some serpentines and things like that. But you have to teach the horse how to do that before the horse gets distracted,
Yes.
because it's through the repetition of something that they know that will bring them back to like focusing
Yeah,
on
and
you.
if now I'm thinking about our arena, right? When you riding down that one long side and the road's right next to you. If my horse does the 90-degree turn and looks out of the arena, yeah, I'm going to be pretty committed to that inside rein. If they just kind of look over to the side and slow down a little bit, I'll just keep a nice steady hand and push more back to the contact and say, hey, get back on the aids. It just depends on how big a resistance you're getting or
Well, and-
distraction.
And how educated the horse is too. I think
Yeah.
the younger the horse, the more they like.
The more circling I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, if it's a more educated horse and they kind of like look around, you could probably just say like, hey, a little shoulder in and be like, yeah, they come back and they refocus real quick. You don't need to do all the circling.
Right.
But if it's a young horse and they kind of just stiffen, but they don't look and turn, maybe I just leave it at that because
Yeah.
like
Leave it alone and
because
just crack on.
because they didn't turn and take a big look. It's an improvement.
Right. They
on
just
that.
tightened up and then you go, yeah, go on. And then they go on. So
I think the best thing is if you can sense it before it happens. Like if you know like that,
right,
okay,
you feel their back starting to
right.
tighten up.
And they start to like, or there's something new in the arena that you know it's going to catch their attention. If you can turn early, leg yield, shoulder in, get them to come back to you. And then attention is also something that's developed over time. It's like discipline. My horse Kensington, when he was 5, I used to say he had the attention span of a gnat because he was like, what's that? What's that? What's that? But then through years of training, not only has he matured because he's now 8 and not 5, but I've also taught him, like, stay with me, pay attention to me. When I put my inside leg on, I want his inside ear to look back at me. So it's something that you also train into your horse, that they learn, okay, it's riding time. I have to focus on the rider.
And that comes in layers.
Okay, a couple more questions. How do you teach your horse to back up? From Shelly.
In the usual way. I love that joke.
From the ground first. I think that's the
Yes.
most important thing.
Yes.
Teaching them the rein pressure from the ground. And then if it's a horse that's really struggling with it, I might even get someone to stand up their head, not even touching the reins as you ask for the rein back, because even just having the person there helps with like the transition from the groundwork to the under saddle work. How do you do it?
I agree. For sure. From the ground.
I tip a little forward in the seat. I close my leg. I hold the rein, and they take a step back, and the pressure comes off. I tell them they're great. We walk on. We take one step backwards. It's great. Do that once, twice, whatever. Next day we do it again.
Okay, girls versus boy. Okay, my Frisian Cross has a tendency to shorten his already pretty short neck in the trot work. What are some ways I can encourage him to lengthen his neck and top line?
Just, the stretchy circle from first level, where you make that circle, you kind of spiral it in, push it out, make them interested in the bit. As you feed the reins through, I always think about making them interested. I play with the bit down there, so the horse goes, ooh, what's happening down there? Oh, what's going on with the bit? And I just keep feeding the leather until he stops taking it. I won't make slack in the reins. I just keep wanting to play with it, make them interested, and then tempo changes with that longer neck.
Nicole?
Leg yield. The sooner you can, Amelia's like, yes. The sooner you can teach a horse a leg yield after like directional and like stop and go, I think the better for their development. Because even it doesn't need to be a big leg yield, but even like leg yielding into the corners or like leg yielding to the wall just a little bit shallow starts to teach your horse how to step underneath themselves, and that will naturally make them bend and like lengthen their neck. It doesn't have to be perfectly like straight, but the sooner you can teach the leg yield, the better.
Yes. And I like that you said that, because I was going to ask you that, but the leg yield, like when they have to engage the inside hind and connect to the outside rein, that makes the neck longer in a good way because their back is up. And that's what Herman was suggesting also with the stretch circle and the spiral in and out. When you leg yield out, getting that connection inside leg to outside rein. But it's fun to have you guys here because everyone, like there's a problem and then you see there's different solutions to it. And you have to figure out kind of what works best for your horse, or like a combination of different ideas.
Or even what's best for you, like in your conformation, your abilities, right? I feel like the leg yield is something that everyone can learn and can work towards. Whereas if you don't have a really good control over your hands yet or your seat, you could still do the leg yield. Whereas the stretch circle might be harder to achieve because it's more coordination. Not that it's not a great suggestion.
No, I'm always hesitant because nobody really wants to let go of the reins. They use them as handles.
Yeah, that's true too.
Now they're leg yielding and they're holding on.
I guess.
And so then it makes the leg yield difficult.
I guess when I teach leg yields, I don't worry about the shoulder falling at first. Like
he does the same.
Yeah.
I have people just overbend them in, move the shoulder out, now add your inside leg, and they get the feel to go sideways. I don't care that the shoulder leads. And by definition, does not the shoulder lead?
Slightly.
Yes.
But they have to be crossing over.
Yeah.
Right. But until the rider can feel the horse move over, how do you fine tune that?
All right. We're making fish tacos for dinner. So if anyone wants to come over, let us know.
Be here quick.
Yes.
Be here quick.
And we will be at the Ingrid Clinic this weekend down in Temecula at Galway Downs. We're going to be doing a little wine and cheese Saturday after the event. So email support@AmeliaNewcombDressage.com if you want details, and it should be really fun. We'll have some updates for you next week. Hopefully we learn a lot of exciting things. Thank you, Nicole and her
Night,
mom.
all.
This was super fun. Good night, everyone.